I'm Dr. Jonette, and welcome to Grow with Dr. Jonette. We just came in from the garden where I dug some potatoes and picked some sugar snap peas. We're going to combine these two ingredients in one of my favorite summertime recipes. Tricolor fingerling potatoes with sugar snap peas in a brown butter sauce, garnished with some mint, chives, and a little lemon juice. So let's get cooking. But be sure you watch all the way to the end so you don't miss my simplest smart tip for this recipe, as well as my neuronutrition nugget as to why peas and potatoes can be so good for your brain. I'm going to start by cooking our potatoes. I'll add them to a kettle. You might have noticed that there's several different types of potatoes here. We've got this deep purple potato, which is loaded with antioxidants, as well as a red potato. This one's been cut so you can see they have either the purple or the red color all the way through. And then there are these little baby white potatoes. We're going to cook them for about 20 minutes or until they're just fork tender, and then we're going to just add our sugar snap peas to the same kettle and cook them until the sugar snap peas are still a little bit crunchy but mostly tender. Before we add our sugar snap peas though, I want to make sure that I talk to you about what you need to do to your sugar snap peas. You can purchase them frozen and then you don't have to worry about the string in them. But if you purchase them fresh or grow them yourself and bring them in from the garden, once they're washed, go ahead and take the string off of them. Just grab the blossom end and pull and the string will come right off. I've done this to most of these. I've already taken the string off of most of these peas. So sometimes you get one string or sometimes you get two. Yeah, we have two strings on that one there. So I'm going to add some water to the potatoes. We're going to get them cooking. Add a little water, like maybe half a teaspoon of salt. And once they're tender, we're going to add the sugar snap peas and finish up the recipe. I've added the water to the potatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and add some salt. We're going to put that on the burner over here and get that boiling. I've gone ahead and moved our kettle over here to the induction burner, and we're going to get the water simmering again. The potatoes are now fork tender. In other words, I can pierce them nicely with a fork. And I'm going to go ahead and add our sugar snap peas now and let them cook another few minutes. I like to cover the potatoes with plenty of water when I'm combining the potatoes with the sugar snap peas. And the water's already been salted, so we don't need to add any additional salt. I'll put the cover on there, and we're going to let that cook a little bit as well. While the peas and potatoes are cooking, let's talk about our simplest smart SIS tip. Our water source here is well water out in the country, and we don't have city water, so I always try to conserve water as much as possible. Part of the way we conserve water is we have rain barrels, and we collect a lot of the rainwater that comes off of all the buildings, and then we use that to water our gardens when it's a dry season. One of the other ways I try to conserve water is to do what I've done here, which is cook two items together if you can, rather than drain all the water that we were cooking the potatoes in and then fill another kettle with water to cook the peas in. I just added the peas to the potatoes, and we're going to cook them together and conserve water that way as well. The peas look like they're not quite done yet, but I'm going to set them aside and they'll stay hot in the water until we're ready for them, and we're going to go ahead and make our browned butter. Over here and just cover them with a lid. I'm making the brown butter in a kettle that has a lighter type of bottom, so that way you'll be able to see the butter brown as the brown bits begin to form. That's an important step because as soon as the brown bits begin to form, you want to remove your butter from the burner and add any of your fresh herbs that you're using. In our case, we'll add some of our chives. We're going to also add a little umami powder as well as lemon juice. Umami powder is powdered shiitake mushroom. It adds that nice earthy, savory, hearty flavor to any vegetable that we add it to. I'll sometimes just sprinkle the umami powder on top of the vegetable for some extra flavor. As the butter's melting, I like to swirl it a little bit in the pan here. These chives I just went out and picked just before we started the recipe. A lot of times my chives will have a flower bud on them. The flower bud is delicious and edible. We're going to take that flower bud off. I'm not going to use the stem because it gets a little hard, but we'll save that flower bud. You may be able to hear the butter starting to sizzle a little bit. That's a good sign. Means it's getting hot, and it won't be long until we see some little brown bits starting to form in the bottom of the pan. It kind of boils up or steams up during this first sizzle you get. I'll quite often tilt it a little bit to look at it, watch for the brown butter to start to form. If you're making something like sage brown butter, as soon as those brown butter bits start to form, you want to add your sage ribbons to it, and then let it cook a little bit longer. It will foam up again anytime you're adding those fresh herbs to your brown butter. And that second foaming up is what infuses the flavor into your butter, as well as what crisps up your herbs, giving them that nice crispy flavor. You can see it's starting to, we've got some brown bits on the bottom here. I think this is done. I'm going to turn off the burner and move it out of the way. You can see how nice and brown this butter is. We're going to add a little lemon, a couple of tablespoons. Just squeeze it in and you can see it foaming up pretty good there. A little bit more. A little umami powder. About a half a teaspoon or so. And I'm going to chop up a little bit of chives. The chives I use primarily as a garnish. By now the butter's cooled down a little bit, so the chives won't necessarily get crispy. I like a couple of teaspoons of chives. And the same with the parsley. We'll probably save a little bit out for some garnish at the end. I also like to add, primarily as garnish, a little bit of mint. The parsley I use is Italian parsley. I like the flat leaf parsley. It has a little more flavor. A lot of times the curled parsley doesn't have that much flavor. It's delicious, but it is used more for just garnishes rather than in things where you want a little bit of that parsley flavor as well. Let's go ahead and I'm going to drain our potatoes and we'll put it all together. I've drained the potatoes and put them in this bowl. You can see some of the purple potatoes. Both the purple and the red potatoes actually cook quite a bit quicker than the other colored potatoes. Sometimes they'll get softer faster or even start to fall apart. One of the solutions to that is you'll notice that most of my purple and red potatoes are bigger pieces of potato. I probably could have left them even a little bit bigger than I did. That way they tend to get cooked all about the same time. Let's talk about our neuronutrition nugget for potatoes, since we're kind of talking about them anyway. Potatoes, the best potatoes are your potatoes that have color in them. The color in the potatoes, especially the deep purple ones like you have here, as well as the red ones, have a substance called anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are one of those substances that scavenge or suck up or destroy free radicals in our body as well as in our brain. Free radicals cause inflammation. Inflammation causes tissue damages, causes cell damage, and can cause cell death as well. This can occur throughout our body as well as in our brain. When we get cell damage and cell death, that leads to cognitive decline, it leads to memory loss, it leads to Alzheimer's and other age-related degenerative type of memory loss and cognitive decline. So adding anything to your diet like a dark colored potato or even a dark colored berry like a blueberry or a blackberry are great for your brain. The other thing that potatoes have in them is plenty of manganese, potassium, and vitamin C, all of which are also good for your brain. So enjoy the potatoes, and when possible, pick the ones that have color. I like the colored ones better. I think they're sweeter and I think they're tastier. Let's go ahead and finish up our potatoes. I'm gonna pour the browned butter over them. And I'll sprinkle a little parsley. We're gonna mix this all in, a little chives, and let's toss that all together so that all the potatoes and the peas are coated with the, whoops, we lost one there, coated with the browned butter. I think browned butter adds an extra delicious component to the butter. I love butter anyway, but you take it and you add those little browned bits of fat. What browns in the butter actually is the fat, the butter fat. And those little bits of browned fat are just extra delicious. Go ahead and garnish with a little mint. And we have our little flour here I'm gonna put in from our, I love to add flowers to my recipes whenever I can. Little pieces of mint here. The little mint, I like the little tiny leaves for garnishes. Little top part there. And I'll sprinkle a little more parsley, a few more chives. And there you have it, our delicious recipe. New potatoes, tricolored new potatoes, sugar snap peas in a brown butter sauce with fresh herbs. I hope you enjoyed cooking along with me and enjoy this recipe. Please click the like button, subscribe, and sign up for notifications. All of this will help me continue to bring you more of these types of healthy, brain nutritious recipes, as well as helping my analytics and help me reach my goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. For more information, go to my website at growwithdrjonette.com, where you can read the full recipe, learn more about neuronutrition, and more healthy and delicious recipes that are also budget friendly.